beginning.
So the first question that I have is, where do the sleeves, which are the bodies, actually come from?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, this, because we know some of them come from the prison system, and some of them are clones if you're really, really rich. But that doesn't really feel like there's enough floating around for everybody to live forever and change bodies whenever they want.
Yeah, it seems like a world with a fairly high turnover as well, doesn't it? Like a very violent world where life is very, very disposable. So, there must be something going on in terms of maybe there's a lot of clone sleeves hanging around. Maybe sort of dead bodies are cloned so that they can live again, so just with someone else's stack in them. And it is a very violent world, so maybe there's a lot of criminals as well.
Yeah, I guess there are a lot of criminals, but it just doesn't seem like there's enough. And we know that cloning's really, really expensive, so that's only really something like the 1% of society can do. So I'm wondering if maybe some artificial sleeves are made, like the synth that Lizzie cast into when she infiltrated Head in the Clouds. Like, I kind of got the impression that didn't used to be somebody. It's kind of like an artificial sleeve because of the way that she could change the appearance so drastically.
Yeah. Then again, I think they're probably really expensive, because anything that would allow the malleability to change the face, they must be quite expensive.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe there just aren't enough sleeves and people are put on a waiting list.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, if you're waiting for a new sleeve, you could be waiting maybe 100 years for someone to die, or for someone to get locked up who's suitable for you, or like unsuitable, as we find in the first episode where that girl's in that old man's body. I mean, that's weird.
Yeah, and I mean that actually proves that there aren't that many sleeves floating around for everyone to be able to have that they want. So perhaps there is a shortage.
I think there probably is.
Another question we have is, how does someone go about changing or breaking out of a VR simulation?
It's never made that clear, is it?
No.
It's just, it's like one of those things where when someone says, "Oh, I really want to be a racing car driver or a millionaire," and how do I get there? How do I achieve that? And you sort of the inner parent in you goes, "You just got to believe in it hard enough, and you'll get there, son." And it's sort of, there's probably like deep scientific explanations for it, which the show doesn't go into. But essentially, when you are hosted in like a VR program and you have no way to sort of impact the code, you've no language to impact the code of the VR program, how do you change it and break out of it? And the show just sort of says, you've just got to really focus on like what you believe in and what's true to you, and let them think that they've broken you. And it doesn't really stack up.
No, I think it's one of those things that, you get with a lot of sci-fi shows where you just have to believe that it's possible, because there isn't really an explanation that makes sense, not based on what we know from the world anyway. So this is kind of Altered Carbon's like magic moment, if you know what I mean, where we just have to accept that this is something that Kovacs is capable of doing.
It's Neo waking up after being killed in the Matrix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just because he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, because old Carrie-Anne Moss gave him a kiss.
Yeah. If you believe it's possible.
Yeah. It didn't really stack up for me, but it's a good point. So the next thing I'm wondering is, why did Kovacs' sister wait so long to wake him up? He was in prison for 250 years, and as the first episode proves, so much has changed since he got locked up. But she's been there with all this money and power and all these other bodies and clones of herself. Don't bother to wake him up for 250 years, despite being, pretty obsessed with him.
Yeah, she definitely bided her time on that one. And I think the show wants us to believe that's because she needed that time to build up her power and influence and resources to be able to get him out. They make a big deal about how he was never being released from prison. Like it would have been impossible to get him on parole or anything like that. So she needed Bancroft's influence to get him out. But given what we know about her character and what we see what she's capable of by the end of the series, it just feels a bit unlikely to me that Bancroft can do something that she couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, Bancroft is obviously the most godlike figure in the entire show, and I mean, maybe she saw the opportunity when she knew that he'd be wanting to solve his own murder, and that she she was aware of what happened to him, so she had that on him essentially and could sort of use it to force it through. Because I imagine Kovac, he was probably the most wanted person in the entire, in the world, in the galaxy. So getting him out of prison would probably have taken the most powerful person in the world to do it. But it does, it does seem odd that his sister waited so long to engineer this situation.
I mean, I guess maybe it did take 250 years for her to get leverage on Bancroft because, he is a very naturally suspicious person given, his position in society. So maybe it genuinely did just take that long until she had something that she could use to manipulate him. The other thing I want to know is, does Bancroft have a plan for getting out of prison?
Yes.
Because he definitely had a plan for if he ever died or if anyone ever tried to kill him. So it feels like prison is a step down from that.
Of course he has. He's a man who's had hundreds and hundreds of years to plan his eternal life. He loves being alive. He loves all the wealth and power that goes with it. And he will have, he went to so great lengths to preserve his own life. He must have considered the eventuality that he'd be arrested for something because he can't be above board all the time.
No.
And he knows, with his habits and his fetishes, he likes to take things quite far. So he must have a plan for it. And I'd be if they make another one, which I think they're going to because it's very popular, and I think there's a series of books, right? It's not just one.
Yeah.
Then Bancroft will be back.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't read the book, so I could be absolutely wrong about this. It's never appears again in the books, and he had no plan, and he's rotting away in jail. But logically, he would definitely have a plan, right?
Yeah, it feels like he should be back because so much is tied up with his character and, his family as well. It would feel weird in the second season if we never heard from them again. And yeah, like you say, a guy that has a mega complicated and expensive plan for surviving death definitely has a plan for getting out of prison. I think he's going to have double-sleeved himself. So he doesn't have to break his stack out of prison. He just continues living his life in a different sleeve, somewhere else with a pseudonym.
Maybe so, yeah. I mean, he owns half the cops, right, as well.
Yeah.
So
how did he even get arrested in the first place?
Well, I mean, it was, it's typical. He just didn't buy the right ones, did he?
He was dead calm as well as he was being led away. Maybe a little too calm.
So carrying on from what you think about Bancroft, will we see the same characters in another season, in separate sleeves, though, in different sleeves? So perhaps Bancroft chooses to live his life in another sleeve and somehow manages to escape his jail term doing that. Maybe Kovac, he gives back his sleeve to what's his name?
Riker.
Riker, yes. Gives back his sleeve to Riker and then lives on in another body. And Riker appears as a cameo in season 2 or something.
Yeah. This is a really interesting thing to me because of the world of the TV series, you actually have multiple actors playing the same character. So we already have this in the first season. Kovac is actually played by 3 separate actors on different occasions. And we know at the end of the series that he gives Riker's sleeve back and he's wearing a different sleeve when he goes to try and find Falconer. But we never see their face. So potentially in a second season, the main character, Kovac, could be played by an entirely different actor, which is really interesting. But I don't know how the audience is necessarily going to respond to that because you get used to seeing, an actor play a part over a long period of time, and then you have to get used to a completely different person playing that same character. Not to mention the fact that Joel Kinnaman, who plays the main sleeve for Kovac in the first season, could still be in the second season just playing Riker, which is Ortega's boyfriend.
That would be confusing.
It's going to be so confusing, but part of me wants them to do it 100% because that is the world that they've built. That's what would happen. But I just don't know if people are going to understand it or not or like it.
No, I think the world that they built with Altered Carbon is brilliant. It's incredibly well realised. It's very well thought out. There's some amazing things in it and amazing characters. But those are the characters, and we associate them with the actors who play them. So the world itself isn't enough to support a second series. I don't think a second season, because you build the association, like you said, with the specific actors.
Yeah.
Like, you could have another Bancroft, but he wouldn't be the same if it wasn't played by James Purefoy.
Yeah, like I can't really imagine that character played by anyone else now.
No, and it would be quite a bit of a negative to replace it with other characters, as good as they might be, with other actors, as good as they might be, because it would just be so confusing, like almost too confusing. It'd be a bold thing to do, but it would be confusing.
Yeah, but I feel like if they don't do it, they've really got to explain why, especially in Kovac's situation, because we know that he's already given Riker his sleeve back. So he can't be played by Joel Kinnaman in a second season, really.
Unless his double sleeve body is still around somewhere, even though they've deleted the stack.
Oh. I mean, that might be one way of getting around it, but and maybe Ortega breaks up with Riker because she knew that she had feelings for Kovac, so he's not in the next season.
Do you reckon it's as simple as that? It's like ejecting a DVD on your PS4. Like, I don't like this one anymore. I'm going to put the old one back in. I preferred that.
I think we just solved that problem for Netflix of like how to keep Joel Kinnaman in the second season playing the same character. You are welcome.
Ortega just gets bored of Riker.
Yeah, I'm done. I'll have the other one.
Great. Well, that's it for our questions about Altered Carbon. If you have any other questions or suggestions on stuff we've talked about, let us know in the comments below. And for everything else Altered Carbon shaped, then stay tuned to Games Radar.